You don't sound unclear because you think poorly. You sound unclear because pressure reaches your mouth before thought reaches its final form. It isn't a speaking problem. It's a sovereignty problem. Most people don't lose their words because they lack intelligence. They lose them because the room enters their nervous system too early. From that moment on, they are no longer speaking. They are managing exposure, and that is the humiliation. Not that the mind was empty, but that something true was inside them, and fear touched the instrument before truth could become form. You know this collapse. A meeting, an interview, a high-stakes conversation where the cost is invisible but your body feels every dollar of it. Seconds before you speak, your breath shallows, your chest tightens, your internal rhythm breaks. You stop building sentences and start monitoring your image. How do I sound? Am I losing them? Am I sharp enough? Do I still have the room? And then it happens. You over-explain. You hedge. You add debris that weakens the point. You decorate the sentence because you no longer trust the thought. That is the pain. Not the pain of imperfection. The pain of having something real inside you and failing to give it a clean body. Your thought did not arrive with the weight it deserved. The mind fails when attention is split. One part is transmitting meaning. The other is surviving judgment. That division is the sabotage. Under pressure, working memory shrinks. Bandwidth narrows. Internal noise rise. Now the speaker is no longer shaping language. He is improvising under surveillance. This is why articulation is not mainly a vocabulary issue. It is a regulation issue. The moment attention shifts from truth to self-image, language starts serving fear. The audience becomes more important than the idea. Perception becomes more urgent than precision. And the speaker becomes a hostage to his own nervous system. The thought was never the problem. The interference was. Lincoln understood what we keep forgetting. Clarity is not born. It is carved. What history later called eloquence was discipline under lamplight. Drafts, cuts, restraint. The removal of vanity. Marcus Aurelius worked the same way in another register. He refined thought in private so it could stand in public. That is what sovereign minds do. They do not worship expression. They worship alignment. They ask what is essential, what is excess, what is signal, what is performance pretending to be substance. The articulate man is not the loudest man in the room. He is the one whose thought survived the knife of refinement. More order, less performance. More structure, less self-display. Articulation is inner order made audible. When the interior is crowded, the sentence becomes crowded. When the interior is governed, the sentence arrives finished. So the work is simple but severe. Rule 1: govern the voice. If you try to impress, the sentence gets crowded. Too many qualifiers. Too much explanation. Too much self-conscious debris. But when you try to contribute, the sentence breathes. It stops performing. It starts serving. Rule 2: govern the instrument. A collapsed chest edits the speech before the brain notices. A shallow breath creates verbal fragility. A tense jaw corrupts rhythm. A rushed nervous system weakens architecture. The body is not separate from the message. The body is the instrument the message must travel through. Rule 3: govern the pace. The undisciplined speaker fears silence. He rushes to fill it. He mistakes speed for authority. The sovereign speaker uses silence. A pause is not emptiness. It is authority. It tells the room the thought is complete enough to stand on its own. That is how verbal command returns. Not by speaking more, by allowing fewer things to interfere between thought and sound. Imagine a dark forge. A blade glows unstable in bronze heat. Too bright. Too raw. Too close to distortion. That is the first thought. Then comes the first impulse. Flame. Urgency. Speed. The need to release before the thought is ready. But the final sentence cannot enter the room as raw metal. It must arrive as forged steel. Clean, weighted, usable. The blacksmith does not worship sparks. He respects form. He does not hammer in panic. He hammers with command. The room hisses as the blade meets water. Steam rises. Heat protests. But the hand remains still. That is sovereign speech, not the absence of pressure, the mastery of pressure. Don't bring sparks into the room. Bring a blade. Law 1. Regulate the instrument. Before the sentence, take one governing breath, not a theatrical breath, a governing breath. Tell your body, this is exposure, not danger, because if the instrument is unstable, the sentence will pay for it. A rushed nervous system cannot build verbal architecture. Law 2. Finish internally. First, do not build the sentence while panicking in public. Identify the core point. Strip the excess. Say the thing beneath the thing. The room remembers structure, not volume. It remembers the finished line, not the emotional scramble behind it. Law 3. Clarify. Don't impress the moment you try to sound smart, you stop sounding true. That is the trap. Replace impression management with message loyalty. Replace performance with contribution. When the message is primary, the voice follows it home. And that is where verbal command begins. Not when you dominate the room. When your thought reaches the room without distortion. You do not need a bigger vocabulary. You need a quieter interior. You need to reduce the distance between what is true in you and what reaches the air. That is the work. Breathe before the sentence. Refine before the room. Finish the thought before you offer it to strangers. Pressure will still come. The room will still watch. The stakes will still rise. But the question is no longer whether pressure exists. The question is this: does pressure enter your mouth as chaos or leave it as form? Lincoln rewrote. The Stoics recalibrated. The sovereign speaker refines. Again and again and again, until one day the room goes quiet. Not because you were louder, not because you performed harder, but because your words arrived finished. If these words found the silence in you, we will meet again on the next road.